All right, it's 7:05, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We'll let people into the room as they come. As I said before, I'm Steve Mitchell. I'm one of the co-owners of Scuppernoong Books in Greensboro, and we're really excited to have all these amazing poets with us tonight. It's great to just have such an amazing evening plan. So I'm not going to talk about the story very much, but I am going to tell you about one thing, which is Greensboro Bound, the Greensboro Literary Festival, which is now in its fourth year and begins May 13th through the 16th. It's all virtual this year and it's all free. And you can check out the entire lineup at the link I just posted in chat. This year we have Roxane Gay, we have Nnedi Okorafor, we have Billy Collins and Ron Rash, we have filmmaker John Sayles, we have Bakari Sellers, and just a whole bunch more other people that are going to be great in conversation. And like I said, it's all free and it's all virtual. So you can join from any place in the world that you might be. And it's going to be a lot of fun. You can also, of course, I will be posting about now the link where you can find and order the books by the poets who are reading tonight. Just follow that link to the Scuppernoong page and the books are there. So we're making it easy for you to get more poetry books in your life. The master of ceremonies tonight is Roy Guzman. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before he takes over the evening. They are a Honduran poet whose first collection, Catrachos, was published by Grey Wolf in 2020. Raised in Miami, Florida, Roy is the recipient of a 2019 grant from the National Endowment of the Arts. In 2017, they were named a Ruth Lilly and Dorothy Sargent Rosenberg Poetry Fellow. They are also the recipient of a 2017 Minnesota State Arts Board Initiative Grant and the 2016 Giselle Award for Excellence in Poetry. Their work has been included in Best New Poets 2017 anthology, guest edited by Natalie Diaz, and Best of the Net 2017, guest edited by Eduardo C. Corral. They are the recipient of a Scribe for Human Rights Fellowship, focusing on issues affecting migrant farm workers in Minnesota. And that same year, they were chosen to participate in the 4th Letras Latinas Writers Initiative Gathering, the literary initiative at the University of Notre Dame's Institute for Latino Studies. Roy holds degrees from the University of Minnesota, Dartmouth College, the University of Chicago, and the Honors College at Miami-Dade College. Please welcome Roy Guzman.
Thank you so much, Steve, for that introduction and for almost calling me she. I love it.
No, I'm sorry.
I am. No, that's totally fine. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I am so excited for tonight's reading, to celebrate Khalisa's book, to celebrate all of these poets. Yeah, so let's get us started. We extend our hands and hearts to the indigenous nations of the Dakota, Lakota, Ojibwe, Sioux, and Old Anishinaabe, who made the Twin Cities their home long before the buildings of our cities, and to all indigenous people who continue to make this area their home. I am reaching out to you from the Twin Cities. I also want to acknowledge the systemic murder of Black people by the police in Minnesota, including George Floyd, Dante Wright, and many, many others. In the spirit of tonight's reading, honoring Khalisa Ray's debuted full-length collection, Ghost in a Black Girl's Throat, I want to remind everyone that no hate speech will be allowed in this space of love and creativity. Instead, take the time to celebrate tonight's poets, their words, by adding your comments on the chat. I'm going to start by reading one of my poems from my debut collection, Catrachos, and then pass the baton to our next poet. So I was thinking about Khalisa's beautiful, beautiful work. And we've known each other through social media. This is the very first time that we meet, at the same time online. And so I'm here. I'm very happy to be supporting her book. The poem that I'm going to read is titled Jurisdiction, and this is inspired by this is in the spirit of Khalisa's book. On the contrary, ghosts do aspire to bring the living to trial, chump their passports with Olympian chasms, as when one harpsichords a stallion to libate from the palms of forgetting, moonlight shoveling out tongues from a slivered carafe, the land curse congruence, the land punta dance rocketed at the unyielding empires. Justice denounces the sun for displaying humble horrors, bleeds amendments from her blindfolds. A bleep of boys, 9-year-old regrets, trace with their eyes the military man's gutting of his rifle. Our country squats behind poisonous woods, perches as if on latrines, wrists tighten with ropes of habit behind her silence. Which death will eventually dawn on us? Child of butchery, I now rove in nowheres, skin aqueducts, old found lands. I hide my ambitions in skunk-stamped burrows, pluck sarcophagi out of city diapers. I let the rain stone me, knowing full well my futile desire at belonging. One day I was a house. The next I exhausted all the tenants. All right, thank you so much. Let's have our next reader for tonight. Our next reader will be Tyree Daye. Tyree Daye is a poet from Youngsville, North Carolina. He is the author of 2 poetry collections, one from 2017 called River Hymns, APR Honickman First Book Prize winner, and last year's Cardinal out of Copper Canyon Press. Daye is a Kava Khanum Fellow, and his work has appeared in Prairie Schooner, the New York Times, and Nashville Review. His honors and awards include the APR Honickman First Book Award, the Whiting Writers Award, Palm Beach Poetry Festival Langston Hughes Fellowship, and he was a finalist for the Kate Tufts Prize. Tyree currently resides in North Carolina. All right, let's take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to read 6 poems and then we'll keep it moving. Byland. I've lived on dirt roads that bent and ended at a gate of ponds. The dust skipped up, didn't make my mother look like a dream. I've lived on roads that drag through America. I've paced only them to the next town. The road we kissed on is gone, rich folks buying up all the city in which we make do. I miss when Sonny could do a wheelie all the way down Person Street, and no one would call the police because he was a part of the neighborhood, like the honeysuckle bush between 2 yards. And he was beautiful, not like a horse standing alone in a yellow field, but like a man is beautiful. Most of the little towns have a road nicknamed Devil's Turn, where someone's brother died on a Saturday night, while Nina sang Tell Me More and then some on the Caddy's radio, the moon, the color of the oldest cardinal. Every road isn't a way out. Some circle back like wolves. You can't get lost on them and they won't lose you. Others wait for you to run out of gas, then come alive with what your mother said would take you. Every road promises something like a father does, but when you arrive, the town is empty and you wait like a child questioning everything. The road itself, laughing like a drunk man falling into a roadside ditch. The road I'm walking now is howling and full of moon. Hopefully it will lead to myself. Hopefully they'll take me home. The Mechanical Cotton Picker for Black Chicago Poets. It wasn't that they killed John Boy in front of his mama's small blue house and that no one called her Miss Bluebird anymore out of respect. Though she never minded the name, it made her believe she'd fly off someday. Or that the sheriff let John Boy's body sit until even the baby stopped crying, their eyes filled with him, his body already going to marble no one would be able to lift from their sleep. It was that we could feed ourselves then by getting down on our hands and knees to pick cotton, and most knew what a body smelled like blowing down a dirt road. When Chicago reached my ear, the war was full of bodies. They sent whole train cars for us Black folk. I read The Defender and waited to hide my face behind the curtains of a northbound train, and I prayed the train car would fly. The South truly don't want us to go. A Mississippi cop would catch a family disappearing behind a rainstorm and send them home, the clouds leaving 4 muddy fields at a time. I left like a season's first lover across a window, slowly like a southern sun, diagonal on a work back. I wanted to carry my aunts to Chicago with me, like this obituary-filled Bible, these plums I got saved, purpling in my bag. To all poets from Northeastern North Carolina, it's just getting hot, dogwoods showering our shoulders with flowers. I saw dead baby birds on the trail, so I know new life has arrived, lost in the survival of pine and ash. I'll say it plainly, we need you down here. Yesterday, my uncle put a nail through his thumb, working for the same white man he's worked for since 6th grade. Last night, his blood fell on the bathroom floor and made a star he couldn't follow. He needs to hear your poems. Cool, maybe just 2 more. Leave Yourself All Over for Grandmother Carrie. Teach me to love the way only the dead know. Sometimes I want to see you so badly. I dream myself full of the reddish wings. I do the things I promised my mother I'd never do again. You wouldn't recognize me now or the town. 3 highways run through old tobacco land. I weep all night for you, will not stop no matter the bright purple festivals, the fireworks that scare everything from the sky. On my way to visit your grave, where you're buried beside your lonesome son, who walked Youngsville all day like an angel no one would give proper wings. I wanted to see you in that small town where our last name watered a crop of soybeans labored under a white man's promise. I wanted to see you in that wide graveyard as a cardinal. When I arrived, I wanted there to be Jubilee, chalk red feathers darting the sky like a little blood moon. I think I'll never be through with the dead, my altar full of whole other worlds. When you no longer ghost among your children, grandchildren, when you become fully angel, a bird I let loose in my house, will you still remember us and our jerry-rigged lives? I know it's hard work being dead. Cool, I'm just gonna read this last new poem. Thank you again so much for having me. This poem is called Cross a Bridge with Me. The white pickup did 90 over the bridge, then hit the brakes like it was a calling from God. In the dark, I was someone trying to get home from working all day at the grocery store that smelled in the summer because the sewage backed up. I was going somewhere, then nowhere. I had no car and no name anyone could look up to get me anything. All this lit by a moon touching my face. The truck moved like an unbuttoned shirt in the wind. Over the bridge, over the toxic Lake Johnson water, all of this over the earth. And this is not the first truck. I am not the first trying to get home. So many trying to get home before me. I timed with my eyes I did not trust. I felt my grandmother's hand holding mine and just pulling me so. I had placed my hands at my sides, like I was on the table already. My mama grinding her teeth over me, while Uncle Boo Boo took hold of my legs. What to say? I am alive to say such things. I was passed down my grandfather's heart, so I could have killed that man, and I could have cried all night. I just know when I go, God forbid, my mama would say, bury me at a small church between Youngsville and Lewisburg, North Carolina, where generations of headstones sparkle like a silver fox and thunder broken clay. Thank you.
Tyree, that was beautiful. And it just it's such a great reminder that the deaf continue to teach us from the beyond, right? Oh, thank you so much for that. Our next reader for tonight is Nabila Lovelace. Nabila is a first generation Queens born poet. Her people hail from Trinidad and Nigeria. Sons of Achilles, their debut book of poems, is out now through Yes Yes Books, and you can currently find them kicking it in Tuscaloosa. Please welcome Nabila.
Wow. Hey, y'all. Wow. Tyree, thank you so much for those poems. Roy, thank you for your poem. Khalisa, thank you so much for having us. What a beautiful, beautiful book for us to be able to celebrate. So in that, I'm just gonna read 3 poems. And they all have the same title, which is When We See Us. Hair rollers set under what oven doors pack, strands of coiled bounty bound to heat. Real gold won't flatten till 2000 degrees, so make it hot. Real hot girl shit, hot girl summer. I've drawn in my peacock feathers, raising with each step on the block. My moo-moo wafting in the wind glitters, catching skin like my moo-moo wafting in the wind glitters, catching skin light like the sun's wink. Every she cross-legged in the salon. Glass window is front and length is ceiling to floor. For the jaw drop of onlooker sweat, I pass the salon to say what up to Poppy at the bodega and part my dollar snapple from its encased brethren. Poppy knows me and my cotton, my mane half done, half plaited down ears of corn, half stood as unhacked weeds at attention. My cousin whole yelling not to go out there with my hair like that. My man's dawdles his mountain bike close to the kind of nature that is paved over. This being how I learned love, concrete, my knees in gravel beds, taking road into the home. My skin unpeeling to its white meat like a potato, and still timed every store run for the unspiral of roller sets. Curls, a buoyant wave of shimmer, catching every metal surface, jealous of this kind of gleam, glamour, unbound to gravity. All right. So this second poem is called When We See Us. She gathers strands to plait down tall corn. Her opposite 2 fingers dressed in a dollop of green grease run my head from BTBs to Compass North. And for a second, the braids aren't too tight. She cooled my dry ex-pants and chilled its thirst. She'd seen me with box braids, 2 months, no silky touched. Never debated my need for bangs, curtains, secreting my Vaseline shined out forehead, my red threaded sew-in. She saw me when all I'd adorn my torso with was tall white tees and free basketball jerseys. Saw me first with fresh chipped tooth post-bike flight. I swear, under microscope, in my scalp, you could find her fingerprints still, and I never worshipped her hands till now. Okay, and this is the last poem that I'll read. Thank y'all so much. Thank you again for having me. I just feel so incredibly grateful to be here. Last note. I don't know if y'all had AIM accounts, but this this poem mentions AIM. So that's AOL Instant Messenger. There we go. When we see us, she who we said we would never be the bitch on the other side of a screen door in the rain for 2 hours over a nigga. Us, two sisters huddled over our AIM accounts to our other little girlfriends about the girl who would not dub the low drum of my sister's brother's name. We laughed and were thunder laughing at her. If we were preteen smokers and not late teen smokers, we would have tossed blunt guts over her underachievement. The kind of shorty out in a shower for a nigga was never my plan. And still, I found myself dick silly in a city with exclusively closed bars. Found myself in a pool with no water, tracing fish into the sidewall for the prospect of a window. I mean, when I left my nigga, there were no trumpets, no vuvuzelas for enacting midnight. Fact, he was a nigga in need of leaving. My neighbors remained on their side of the wall with their dog and their own raised verbs. I put down the dog tequila raised in my chest, my voice a low crumble. Get out, get out. Fists to nouns again. I mean, once I was tied by the hip to a man who did the dishes and a mattress with a sunk-in crate for a dip. But today it's 58 degrees and in my crew neck, I walk a river's length. And who else were we to have? Our mothers had their own laughs. All the girls were not our sisters. Some would be our misters. Thank y'all.
Nabila, oh my goodness, that was I was like, that's like embodied reading right there. And something that I kept thinking about was this idea that I think in your poetry specifically, I'm thinking about how language is a reminder that it's a world building material, right? It's literally, I can feel as you read, there are people almost like leaving out of your mouth, right? Finding their destinies, their journeys. So thank you so much for that. Our next reader tonight, another beautiful reader, Prince Bush. Prince was a Bucknell Seminar for Undergraduate Poets Fellow, and they graduated from Fisk University as an Erastus Milo Cravath Presidential Scholar, a poet from Nashville, Tennessee. He reads poetry for Tri-Quarterly. So if you want to send some poems, send them to Prince. All right, take it away, Prince.
Thank you. Just a quick check. Can you hear me well? Okay, thank you. This first poem is titled Forewarned. I used to sleep with men that would hold me like a gun and shoot, a pillow in my mouth, trigger our shared PTSD, The cold shade of delusion made them. Reptilian, it made me wet. Fish, both woman and man, totally sleep deprived. The spring inside me, broken, so broken they need a real rifle to hunt my brain coupling body, beginning to cry for warmth. Lithium. My father calls me, conjuring some sort of feeling from cognac, bad conscience, and a fully charged lithium ion battery. I hear the voicemail, may call back, blaming an old battery. Lithium ages poorly, like us both. It's only been 1 year since he's learned my leaning, not handling this life from hazard well. And I die quickly. I should, but won't. Replace the cell phone. Enjoy justifying loan, socialness, low binding vigor. Bring up gaps I share and shift with lithium. He will comprehend as a mechanic, churning alternators, fixing power units, charging he'd punch a homosexual. Anger higher than the boiling point, potential traction lower than the melting. Addiction. I stole cell phones that I think stood for communication with family members. I stole their cell phones first, then I stole my principal who turned to paddle knees, cloning nightmares with flash, light, shadow puppets, and nap time cell phone. My mother wouldn't allow her. I never stole my mother with respect to her needs or my father's, despite him using two, one for drugs and one too for selling drugs. I like to think the drugs were communicating in order to obtain me, who was phony up to the ear with no antenna, no matter how many I stole and gave back. To tell you about my voice. Thank you. I earn medicine by acting like a virus, swells my vocal cords and makes a man, and his lungs rub themselves together raspy. And I speak like I'm not high strung so that my pitch is stable. My voice through the phone must implode the zeros and ones of their machine, the fan and air plane engine, their keyboard feet on hot coals that give up and stay to bone. Requires a male to sacrifice oneself to the binary. Once I used my natural voice. I was questioned halfway through scheduling my appointment. Who are you seeing and how are you today over? When the tech asks, who am I speaking with? I say Prince, and I think the confusion's with Prince. But there are certain things you know to be certain, you say. I have here that Prince is a male. Where? I don't recall naming myself, but I enter the binary to tell you about my voice. I go to purgatory and wait with who I can only guess. Are other people deemed non-compliant? And am I to be deciding who to be on the phone? This is the opposite of ghost. I am strapped to a pipe organ and must know the ranks, the control of wind to extent of wood and metal and play with mouth and tongue, or I don't. And then there's no sound, air, or hold music. I think this is the last one. titled From My Car. I climb a hill that's more mountain, one where I don't see people farther than me until I struggle past the top in the momentum of a silent meteor, the same route where I died, where it was narrow and frigid. A woman suggested I get out and push my car up despite the 2-ton car flattening me. And another offered to manhandle my car despite the 2-ton car castrating him. And there were more people with wait a minute bush, thorn fingers, wait and see, 18 eyes behind 3, a wait list in their cars with wait lists, music despite the 2-ton car, waiting for the other shoe to drop that would shatter their windshields and ripple and domino, affect their music into the street below. But who dared to move? Up that hill met the sky-high tow truck, which made them reverse, and its man had me recuse myself from my car and swear I would leave it if it didn't run again, and I didn't run away from it. Do I have enough time for one more poem? Okay. This poem is titled On Truth. And then this is it. Thank you so much. Okay. Though it's usually odorless, it is so concentrated, it might stink scooting down the road of my tongue, produce more methane than cows, which are more like trumpets with thinking. The climate is changing because of the air that comes out their pipe and got wrong which key. Be fatter than breathing nitro and oxygen, prescribed for my fire, place chest, getting me hyper, oxia, planum, sick with Martian craters, an ExoMars rover discovers. My irritated trachea, my hopes up, weighing a third less, higher but still falling, fall out of my mouth into tears and turn into acid, last 1,000 years in earth, memory, cause frostbite, burn, flush my skin, or leave me alone. Thank you.
Prince, thank you so much for that. I mean, I want to acknowledge, right? I'm from here in the Twin Cities. Prince is a name that everybody loves. First and foremost, your poems, that approximation to that first person I is just so powerful. And I was thinking about just every poem almost reads like this queer testimony, that, you know, so that it's like letters from the beyond, or like, you know, if these were the last letters that I would read about the human civilization, I feel like I would understand so much about it. So thank you so much. Let's have our next reader. Ayokunle Falomo is Nigerian American and the author of African American, but I do want to say that it's African, American, because that's important to note. Out of New Delta Review, this is from 2019, and 2 self-published collections, Kindred, Dread, 2017, and Thread, This Word Weaver Must, from 2014. A recipient of fellowships from Vermont Studio Center and MacDowell, his work has been featured on Right About Now, the New York Times, Houston Public Media, Michigan Quarterly Review, the Texas Review, New England Review, and elsewhere. He is currently an MFA in poetry student at the University of Michigan's Helen Zell Writers Program. Please welcome Ayokunle.
Thank you so much, Roy. I just want to say, like, I feel incredibly honored and grateful to be part of this reading tonight and to be celebrating you, Khalisa. I can't wait to get a hold of the book. Uh, Actually, I'm graduating with my master's in like few days on Friday. Right. So I can't wait for the summer when I can be able to like read all the books, including yours, Khalisa. So yeah, thank you all. I'll start with a poem called A Toast. For February and every month, let me attempt what seems impossible to carve like Straza did a veil, a song of praise from stone to the charred teeth of history, black as the hide of our fathers' belts, to what we can't rinse out its bloody mouth, to Jimi Hendrix and his black beauty, to Esperanza and her bass, to the gravel and coffee and cream of Nina's voice, to mine, singing along with her, to be young, gifted, and black, to my sisters and mothers and daughters' hair, to the coils of smoke snaking through the air above us, to the roads we have traversed, forked as the tail of the saw wing, to what swallows and is swallowed, to what we cannot save from rot, to my body, that it is today not a burden, to the palms pricked by the thorn of living, to the side eye, to what does not need to be said with the mouth, to what the horn attempts to say because the mouth cannot, to Satchmo's lips, to the black lipped bastard and his hippie crew, to everyone rooting for, to you, named, nameless, or left unnamed, to the anaphora of breath, each like God's little toe or comma in the sentence of our lives, to the long winter and how it makes us forget our summer thirst for blood, to time and the passing of it, to what is poured out in memory of those no longer with us, to us, to us. This one is called Middle of the Earth, and it's for the 26 Nigerian girls who were drowned in the Mediterranean en route from Libya to Italy in November of 2017. Whose mouth opens to kiss the Atlantics? Whose child are you who did not know to say, I've had my fill? My teeth stained with eternal grief, I want to be a student of your thirst. If only so my lungs could speak the hidden mysteries of death, to know its hold, how spent, but holding on to hope, they must have reached for something strong enough to touch, besides the emptiness of air. With hands that once would braid a sister's hair or trace the wrinkles on a mother's face. Oh, see, if like they did, we cannot leave without the weight of memory. How shall we live except in weight? And this is the last poem I'll read, and it's called Not in This Poem, and it's after Leila Shati. In this poem, men with sickles for hands pull a boy by his teeth, drag him to the mouth of the river, and the river rids itself of the language of hunger. Lately, I have been chewing on headstones. With my hands, I unlock the chest of the past and find inside it a future in which we lose nothing of blood. Though each exhale is a practice, for the last we let it go anyhow. Oh, the evergreen of our breath, the overgrown weeds of our lives unplucked. Open palms, we ask the poplar for fruit, and bodies do not fall from it. In this poem, I oil my mother's scalp. I watch my beloved braid my sister's hair. Once she asked, When was the last time you climbed a tree? I am here in a country that is not my mother's, I said, and I want to return home alive. Would you believe me if I told you this too is about joy? Once a monarch thought my beard a flower bush, landed on it, said, "Black boy, you better fly. Black boy, you butterfly." Yes, I know the flowers do fade, but tonight I got me a fade and I am beautiful in every language, in every country. I have given up on living forever, but still, I want me a body that will not die. In this poem, we trade the garland of history around our necks for something much holier than gold. We let those who love us, though they cannot love the desire for death out us. Tonight, the graveyard is just the name of the club down the street, and all our ghosts have gone dancing. Ashe, thank you so much.
Whew, those poems. Ayokunle, thank you so much for these poems. And I mean, I feel like sometimes people say, you know, I don't know what I got out of my MFA. And if those poems you got out of that MFA, I feel like it was probably some good time to do these poems, which I kept thinking about. These are supplications. These are call to arms. These are almost like calls to remember things. So thank you so much for these poems tonight. Let's transition to our last but amazing also reader, Khalisa Ray. I'm gonna read a little bit about Khalisa here. I wish, you know, Khalisa and I, we were closer so I could like do something like roast you, you know, but I can't do that. So I should have gotten like tweets where it's like on, you know, on January 10th, 2021, Khalisa said, there are so many good tweets by Khalisa, by the way. So Khalisa Ray is a poet and journalist in Durham, North Carolina that speaks with furious rebellion. She is the author of Ghost in the Black Girl's Throat, which we're celebrating tonight out of Red Hen Press. Her essays are featured in Autostraddle, Catapult, Lit Hub, as well as articles in Bitch Media, NBC Black, and others. Her poetry appears in Frontier Poetry, Florida Review, Rost and Moth, Pank, Hellebore, Sondog Lit, which I used to edit back in the day, Hobart, among countless others. She is the winner of the Bright Wings Poetry Contest, the Furious Flower Gwendolyn Brooks Poetry Prize, and the White Stag Publishing Contest, among other prizes. Currently, she serves as assistant editor for Glass Poetry. Again, triquarterly Glass Poetry, send them your work, right? And founder of Think in Ink and Women Speak. Her second collection, because again, she's got that furious rebellion, is coming out next year, and it's titled Unlearning Eden, out of White Stage Publishing. So please welcome Khalisa Ray, y'all.
Oh my goodness. Roy, thank you so much. You're an amazing host. Oh my gosh. So thank you to everyone that read tonight. You touched my heart, you touched my soul. Ayo, you made me cry. I say that I need to cry at every reading just to like cleanse all of the baggage that I've been carrying. So you officially had me crying. So thank you, Ayo. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to Scuppernoong. Scuppernoong is my stomping grounds. So I went to college in Greensboro. Met my husband there, started my first nonprofit there. We used to host events at Scuppernoong. So thank you so much for hosting this tonight. This has been a joy and a pleasure. I am about to celebrate my dating anniversary with my husband. So tonight I'm going to be doing something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. So I'm going to start with a piece that I haven't spit in forever from my first chapbook that was published by a press in Greensboro, ironically. It's called Home Cooked Havoc. And so I'm super excited to spit poems that I haven't spit for anybody in like ages tonight. So y'all are gonna get, you know, some new-ish tonight. My in-laws are in the chat, so like give it up for them. Keep the energy going. They're here first time them hearing me spit, so that's awesome too. So Home Cooked Havoc starts with a quote from Doctor Who. And it says, "Oh, I think the explanation might be you've been fooled by a simple olfactory misdirection, a little bit like ventriloquism of the nose. It's an elementary trick in certain parts of the galaxy." So this is Home Cooked Havoc. Dr. Phil says that the keepsakes we hold on to after relationships are never really that special. It's the smell of the item that brings about a specific memory and reminds us of the person, of the moment we got it, because that's the thing about smell. It's attached to our memory. And if I was really being honest, I think I remember our relationship like something that didn't smell that sweet. And if we were being honest with ourselves, I think we would remember our past relationship had more rancid moments that we choose to forget. I think I treated my current relationship like a rose. I was so honored to have one, but when I thought about it, it never really smelled that sweet, never really lived up to the hype. So I want to remember you like toxic spills and biohazard. Maybe remembering how you suffocated my happiness will help me let go, how I tried to escape your radiant radiation, how you always seem to turn and pollute my relationships, turning the taste of good men bitter, spilling out of my insecurities like oil, destroying my Creole gulf of a love. And I know that when you connect your life with people, their scents stay on your soul like fingerprints. And you can choose to wear with pride or scrub it away like a one-night stand and it's sad. You can wash away perfume a lot easier than you can poison. What if hate had a smell? And if it did, would it smell like you? Because I know each bad decision and argument like gas chambers, know each regret and the way it festers the moment like rotting flesh, the sin of it, wanting so badly to be jasmine and lavender memories, but are kerosene every time. Doctors say we show emotions towards certain smells before we are born. So how do I stop a reflex that started before I could walk? Conditioned to bend at the musk of every man that was bad for me, like rebel, player, crazy. We react to smells now that we encountered in the womb. Maybe that's why I react to you like burning flags and smoke signals. I am convinced that I caught wind of my father's unfaithfulness in the fetus. Because all this distrust smells so familiar, it just didn't taste so sour. Because in my home, pain was sweet. We buttered up abuse like dinner rolls. Arguments smelled like apple pie dishes hitting the floor. Bruises tasted like basil or bourbon. There was always good smells covering up bad memories. Smells of my mother's blueberry pancakes on Sunday. Help me forget my dad's decaying fatherhood. Smells of mom's chicken smothering the destruction she needed to deodorize. A lot of sugar made the medicine of fist fights go down like kisses. Since to shield the pain gave a new meaning to mother's oils and creams, cabinets lined with fragrances to fragrant her nightmares. But some pain will hide in the back of your mind, regardless of how much barbecue you used to smoke out last night's argument. Afraid that the neighbors will know that destruction has been here, so we baked rosemary, letting the smells fill the spaces where the deepest hurt lingers. I was not prepared for this soiled ending or how rotten you left me. You can only cover up demons with peppermint oil for so long until your ghost starts smelling like paradise. I have learned that I will never get rid of all this expired love you left behind. I can only flower my memories with you with closure and make the life I have now smell so sweet. Thank y'all so much. I'm super excited to transition over to my debut forthcoming collection. So this is Ghost in a Black Girl's Throat. I'm really excited to read pieces from this. As a lot of y'all know, I come from the spoken word background, and I love writing poems on the page that just fill me up when I read them. That last poem is a tongue twister. So I'm like super proud of myself for getting through it because those words are just like get caught in your mouth. So I'm gonna actually transition over to a little prose piece. It's called Heirloom. And in this book, many of you know that have it know that I talk about the transition from being a Midwesterner to a Southerner and the trauma of that. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about trauma and mental health. This is called Heirloom. We inherit this loneliness, a gentle passing down from generation to generation like secret family recipe. No one knows the ingredients that made this delicious mess, but we ingest it, swallow each prideful piece, bury the weight of solitude in the junk drawer of our genes. With every new child, a new symptom is added. It is an unspoken truth that a fog has hovered over our heads for decades. Generations of grandmothers and grandfathers that were chronically melancholy, great aunts and uncles passing with loneliness following them like ghosts. The room in our brain is haunted, but we do not speak of this terror. We never mention the thoughts that keep sleep so distant, the sadness that gnaws at our sanity. God forbid we ask for help. Too much to be colored and crazy. Too many double-edged swords could kill a man. So we suffer in silence, tuck our secrets back in and save them for a rainy day. I am a part of the project that studies the historical events that I talk about in my book. So the book is a lot about learning about the Wilmington 1898 race massacre, and that being very traumatic as a 17, 18-year-old student trying to get her life in college, and then being smacked over the head with knowledge about racial trauma and the killings of my ancestors. Their bodies were thrown into the river. If you don't know about the history of Wilmington, North Carolina. And so I fled from Wilmington to Greensboro. That's how I got there. And thank God I did. It changed my life. But I wrote, when my husband and I went back to Wilmington, they asked me to be a part of the historical collection committee and group, if you will, where we educate people about the history through dance and poetry. And so this is one of those pieces. This is called Mad Black Bird. It starts with an epigraph from Maya Angelou from The Caged Bird. It says, "The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longs for still." Mad Black Bird. A woman walked up to me and told me I was beautiful. Eyes stark and mesmerized, started to lift her hand to lean in to touch and view my feather, the crest of my head. Gawking, she called her other friends over to pet and view my exotic, my natural. And if I had swatted her away, screamed and pushed her, I would have been called beast, wild animal, untamed. How do you cope, bird, when they say, "Can I touch it?" It's so wide, so full, so big. Look at that wingspan. Can I keep her? When everyone tells you to hide who you are, but is wearing the features they made you hate, your body does not know whether to change its stripes or break the bars and run. It's hard to look in the mirror and not hear their voices. You'd be prettier, little black bird, if you bleached, snipped a wing or two, trimmed the fat, if your squawk wasn't so riotous. But I am losing myself. Been here so long, this cage feels like a home, more like a place to rest under than escape. The more they tell me to change, the harder it is to remember what I loved about myself in the first place. My long brown neck, full beak, plumage waving like ink. This beautiful mahogany tail stands majestic, crooked appendix that keeps on waving despite her. Thank y'all so much. When crafting this book, I really wanted to be as vulnerable as possible to set free the unspoken thing. That's where the title comes from. So this is something that I'd like to set free. This is called Morning Glory. No one spoke of morning glory when they examined my earth for the seed that grew, handed me a capsule and told me the pain would subside in 3 days. When I sat knees to chest, my soul a slow erosion, I would have wanted morning glory when I lay hollow and emptied like bright blood orange moon. I wish I could have tasted the sweet communion of morning glory first. How the name rolls off my tongue like blessed assurance. When I needed an anointing, no one offered to crush morning in their palm, to boil the glory in water and let it steep. No one spoke of how it gently settles in your belly. How morning speaks softly to your uterus and convinces her to empty, pour like gourd, and spill the guilt she has been carrying. Morning will breathe on your belly of impurities, whisper sanctification and cleansing on all that shame and dead skin. I wish I would have known of morning glory, how it can be a surgery and a baptismal all at the same damn time. Yeah, so that takes me to one of my last pieces. This piece is from Unlearning Eden. So if you like what you heard, I think I broke up just a second there. Can everybody still hear me? Yeah, okay, great. My thing was lagging just behind. So if you like what you heard in this book, you will enjoy the heck out of the book that comes after that, which is Unlearning Eden from White Stag Publishing. I'm gonna wind down with a piece and then just a little mini quote from Unlearning Eden. Thank y'all again for going on this journey with me and letting me be vulnerable with you. Let's pull it up here instead. I'm doing like a double-handed thing here with both. Okay, so this is Shrinking Women. I heard this performance poet do this piece with a similar name as Shrinking Women from a white woman's perspective. And I felt like I should do a response piece from a Black woman's perspective about taking up space. And so this is Shrinking Women. Dear Alice, do you remember squeezing arms and limbs inside the smallest passageways? How they made you rabbit hole, contortionist, sinking ribcage, shrunken head of a woman? Do you remember collapsing shut, downsizing your dangerous, making minuscule of your mouth, how they told you to be bite-sized, compact from meal to be devoured? They gave you the key, told you to enter with small hands, promised you milk and honey on the other side, and you believed them. You consumed their magic potion, fasted on the perceptions of beauty as a means of survival, and we all did. All of us curvaceous and space takers, attending tea parties dressed in self-doubt, scarving down empty calories of self-loathing, each staircase of comparison sending us spiraling, off with our heads, off with the pounds, appearing small to hide our dangerous expansion, winding through tattered mazes of people-pleasing and playing nice, all the while busting at the seams of brilliant. They were hoping we'd shrink so they could commercialize our size, tell us to gain and then lose of every inch of who we are is a watcher of stars and not of weight. We are not the door, we are the brick house, supporting a satisfying frame, a body well handled with love and stricken with thunderous thighs that refuse to stop rippling and spill over. Thank y'all so much. As I leave you, I want to leave you on this note. I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety lately, and it's been really affecting me, and I've had to really like get through and push through and free myself. And so I think a lot of that is about like shame and holding on to things that I shouldn't be holding on to. And so I wrote this little mini piece called Fire and Brimstone to just help myself not be ashamed of my past, you know? And I think that that's what often holds us back. Thank you again so much for having me tonight. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being such a joy and just a blessing in my life, all of you. So this is Fire and Brimstone Bodies. My skin remembers the kiln, the baked lust animal gnawing at my hip, the glowing torch-stricken thing I couldn't quit. How I begged for water to cool the sun-drunk days and bad decisions, tossing bodies around in a funk-filled perfume. How we always regret in the morning. That brimstone they said was after us finally caught up. Nothing like a heat wave hangover to pass the time with demons the light refused to cast out. A dash of sage and holy water. Lather cocoa butter. Say it was a bad, bad dream. The way we tore each other apart and stitched each other back together with the fire. Thank y'all again so much. This was such a pleasure and an honor. Oh my goodness.
Khalisa, thank you so much for inviting us on this journey with you. I was thinking so much about the connections you made tonight with Black womanhood and nature, even in this last poem that you read. And why am I thinking about that connection? Because you're basically allowing us you're showing us how Black womanhood is a radical way of looking at life, looking at things. So thank you so much for that. I want to thank tonight everybody for coming out. Scuppernoong Books, all our readers tonight. Please give them another round of applause. They were amazing. Please buy their books. Please, if you don't buy their books, if you already have their books, please encourage others to get those books and bring those books to the classroom. I think as someone who teaches, I very much believe in bringing especially contemporary voices to the classroom. I want to also say thank you all for reminding us that poetry matters. Please keep getting and encouraging others to get vaccinated. Please wear your masks and please keep the human flame alive. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Steve. Everybody leave your social media handles in the chat so we can follow each other back and everyone can find us. Thank y'all again so much. This was an honor and a pleasure. Y'all were amazing.
Khalisa, we have so much to talk about this theme of shame. My book is it's essentially about that, I feel. So yeah, we're gonna exchange
Yes.
mailing addresses so I can
Yes.
send it over.
Yeah, can we do that? We gotta talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.